Our kind of catchphrase in the field of urban forestry is right tree, right place, right way.
Elise Shadler documents what trees are growing in the urban forests of Vermont's villages, cities, and towns. On the docket, St. Albans.
We're essentially looking at every tree that falls within the public right-of-way along streets and residential roads, and also trees on public parks, in cemeteries, around town office buildings, around libraries, and at some schools in some communities. So anything that's considered to be under the public purview. You know, they're small now and they're crossed, and as they grow larger, they're going to eventually...
Shadler works for the Vermont Urban Community Forestry Program, a collaboration between University of Vermont Extension and Department of Forests, Parks, and Recreation. St. Albans is one of 20 communities Shadler and her colleagues are visiting. At each site, they've logged over 200 hours of data to create a tree inventory. Their efforts set the foundation for the Care of the Urban Forest project.
It's three major components. The first is a public tree inventory. The second is a management plan for the trees based on the results of that inventory. And then the third step is that we're actually bringing in a certified arborist to work with the town staff in each community to learn how to better maintain their trees and manage their trees properly. In Vermont, most communities do not have a city arborist that's paid on staff, so a lot of times that falls on the volunteer tree warden or a conservation commission or a volunteer tree board, or it's housed, in the public works department or parks and rec. So we really want to support communities that have a large street tree population in better managing and stewarding those trees, and the very first step is just to know what you have.
With a tape measure and an expert set of eyes, Shadler notes every aspect of each tree, from its species and size to its condition and location. All the information gets recorded on an iPad.
We really wanted something that was going to be web-based and accessible from multiple devices by multiple people. So we've been working with the State of Vermont's Agency of Natural Resources IT team for the last couple years on developing a really specific Vermont public tree inventory tool. The great thing about this system is that when we go home at the end of the day and sync that data from the day, it automatically uploads to the ANR Atlas tool, which is an online map-based tool that has multiple different layers that the Agency of Natural Resources manages. After we're finished taking this data, you can actually zoom into your town, click on the urban tree canopy layer, and find your street and click on the tree that's in front of your house, and you can see what species it is, what size it is, if there's anything that we flagged that tree for, and a picture of it.
If that were out in your field behind your house, maybe you could take your chances on
Curtis Comfort is the planning and permitting administrator for St. Albans and the city's tree warden.
I'm anxious to see the results of the inventory and see what the crew thinks are the hot spots in the city, what trees really need attention right away so that we can maintain their dignity, their beauty, and their health.
The service being provided by this project is a valuable tool for shaping how the city will look in the future. It's sure to help Comfort in his work, but it's also an asset to the taxpayers of St. Albans.
Having an inventory of the trees and having a proactive plan for maintenance is of the utmost importance. And to naysayers who may say you should be more concerned with issues directly related to the city, like the construction of buildings, roads, sidewalks, having a healthy urban forest is directly related to that stuff. Because if you have the wrong tree planted in the wrong place, you may spend thousands of dollars rebuilding a sidewalk, and it may only be a matter of years before the roots of a tree that become invasive to, who knows, sewer pipes underneath, or just start to buckle the sidewalk. There's a very pragmatic way to look at the urban forest as well.
If any part of that tree were to fail, it's gonna...
Like any natural resource, an urban forest has to be conserved and cared for to ensure its survival.
We want long-lived, large trees that are healthy, because those are going to provide the most long-term benefits to citizens and the community as a whole. So, we are advocates of, even if you have a spot where you might be able to plant a tree, if that's not going to have enough soil volume for that tree to succeed, we're not going to recommend you put a tree there. Again, I think that in the past, the field has been really focused on planting, and I think that we're really coming to a point now, and especially in Vermont communities, that a lot of them have a lot of trees, is let's care for the trees that are in the ground, let's prune them properly, let's train them properly, set them up to have a really long-lived and healthy life.
Cataloging, counting,
Yeah.
and planning for the
That's what
future
Amy South
of the
Wales
urban
is.
forest. One community, one street, and one tree at a time. In St. Albans, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.